As part of our work on a series of audits on the province's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we looked at lab testing, case management, and contact tracing in Ontario. The risk of community transmission of COVID-19 and additional waves of the disease is high, given the population density in some parts of the province and the reopening of schools and the economy. It is critical to quickly identify COVID-19 positive individuals through lab testing and follow up using case management and contact tracing to prevent the spread of the disease. Delays increase the risk of spread. The Ministry of Health and health sector partners collaborated on the systems and processes needed to implement these measures. As of August 31, 2020, about 7 months after the first case in Canada was identified in Toronto, 148 assessment centres in Ontario were collecting COVID-19 specimens, and 43 labs were performing COVID-19 lab testing. Our audit looked at the Ministry of Health, Public Health Ontario, Ontario Health, and public health units to assess their responses to the pandemic, including lab testing, timely case management, and contact tracing to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Overall, we found the ministry and its partners were not always timely in lab testing, case management, and contact tracing. And while the ministry collected and assessed data in these areas, the data showed that the performance of these activities did not meet the ministry's turnaround targets. The ministry was not quick enough to ramp up testing capacity, despite warnings by Public Health Ontario and hospital doctors on February 26, 2020. It took a month to formalize a network with its partners to oversee and coordinate testing. Public Health Ontario informed the ministry in 2017 of the risks of the lack of sustainable funding. The ministry took no action at the time and further reduced their funding by about $13 million, or 9%, in 2019-20. Ontario's lab testing, case management, and contact tracing were not fast enough to effectively prevent COVID-19 transmission. On lab tests from March to August 2020, only 45% were completed in 1 day, and 77% were completed within 2 days, below the targets of 60% and 80% respectively. Only one of the 34 public health units met the 1-day target, and only 4 units met the 2-day target. The average amount of time between a lab test and the start of case management was over 4 days between March and August 2020. It peaked at about 5.5 days in March and remained at 2.75 days in August. In more densely populated areas, times were longer, 3.25 days in Ottawa, 4 days in York Region, 4.5 days in Peel Region, and 5.75 days in Toronto. When lab testing, case management, and contact tracing activities are delayed by 2 days each, only 39% of COVID-19 transmission can be prevented. Our report contains 7 recommendations consisting of 26 actions. For example, we recommended that the Ministry of Health collaborate with Ontario Health and the Provincial Diagnostic Network on sharing lab information and best practices, and take immediate action to address root causes such as insufficient equipment, human resources, and supply issues that contribute to delays in meeting targets.